Boys, I started a new book recently. It is it's by Costi Hinn, Benny Hinn's nephew, and he just dives into the world of name it and claim it and prosperity living. As he was a catcher for his uncle Benny. When at those healing services, when people would fall over, Costi was there to grab you and make sure you were okay. And so I've in this world that we find ourselves in of preachers and sneakers, right, where preachers are getting called out for the shoes that they're wearing, let alone, like, we don't have to dive into the Benny Hinn stuff, right? I mean, we're talking like $20,000 a night hotel rooms, right? Okay, I get it. That's extreme. That's over the top. That's unreal. How in the world? But at what price point are my shoes too much? Like, how much is too much for pastors? I like tennis shoes. I don't live in that world, but I do have annual passes to Disney World. Like, is that too much? So I'm kind of wrestling with this question of how much is too much for pastors. Is it okay for pastors to live comfortably in a world of preachers and sneakers? So I kind of want to hear where you guys fall on this. I mean, I'd much rather err on the side of, as far away from that as possible. But at the same time, I have 5 kids, and we lived in a couple of houses that were nowhere near big enough for my family. And now we live in a house that's quite comfortable for my family. So where are you guys at on this discussion of how much is too much?
I drive a 14-year-old Hyundai specifically so that I tell people, well, I could make a car payment, but I've chosen to send that car payment to Disney World. And that whenever anyone says anything about my annual passes at Disney, because I have 4 kids and it's no, I want them, they wouldn't remember what car daddy was driving, but they would remember our Disney trips. And so that's been my go-to to justify, yes, we do post lots of Instagrams from Disney World when we're not in the middle of a global pandemic, but I also drive a 14-year-old Hyundai for that purpose. Not because I couldn't go out and get another car, but because I want the car as a disclaimer for my Disney tickets.
I think like I don't think ultimately I don't think the issue is income. I think the issue is the flex, right? Like for example, it's public knowledge that Rick Warren probably is super rich, or at least has the potential to be super rich, because he has the best-selling book of all time after the Bible, right? Like, so I mean, like, but we also know that Rick Warren reversed tithes. So like he like gives like 90%. I don't know. That's a ridiculously high number. Most of his income back to the church. I mean, John Piper is in the same world too, where like with all the books he's written, he probably could be a millionaire too. But all the book sales goes back into his ministry. I don't think he sees a penny of it. And I think he just takes a stipend from Desiring God or whatever. I think, like, to me, there's a lot of contextual conversations, because, like, I remember when I was looking for a job before I moved to Milwaukee, I saw a pastor's job in San Francisco, and the youth pastor job was 70 or 80K a year. And I was like, youth pastors get paid more than they get paid 80K? And I was like, oh, that's like below minimum wage in California, though. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think there is like a contextual thing. It's like if you're a pastor in a suburban community and the median income is a certain income, and you're getting paid that much, I don't think there's anything sinful or wrong with it. But I think it's the flex that's the issue, right? Like for me, I bought a friend of mine is a big sneakerhead, and he got me a pair of Jordans that normally cost $300. I got it for like $100, and I wear like a lot of outfits that match those Jordans, and they're like my nicest pair of shoes. And so I've worn those shoes often at church, but it's not like a flex. It's like literally like what my Sunday best would be if we're talking about Sunday's best, right? But like there's been times where it's like you guys, where if I have a speaking opportunity at a conference or I got something where I got some extra cash, we could put it in a car, we could put it in something that's flashy, or I could put it in Disney tickets where no one's going to see it, but I'm going to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, I booked a Disney cruise back in like late 2019, and we kept postponing it. And because of COVID, I can't go to this cruise in 2021. I have so much money ripped, like hold it in Disney. I can't do anything about it because they're only going to give me Disney credit to refund me. So I'm like, I got to go on this Disney cruise one day. But like, I saved a lot of money on that. And I know two of you guys are big Disney fans. Disney cruises are stupid expensive.
Yep.
But like I said to, me and my wife were like, hey, if we're going to go on vacation, let's make this a pop-in vacation. Let's save up some money and put it towards this cruise. It's not like we're flexing on anybody, right? And I think that's the problem where I think what Preachers and Sneakers is trying to expose is why are pastors flexing on people? Like, why are pastors, especially the where Benny Hinn comes in the conversation, is why are pastors flexing on people when their congregants are like below poverty lines or are in desperate need, and they're literally going to these churches or these services for a prayer for wealth. I remember when I lived in Tampa in high school, I went to Paula White's church, Without Walls, and I was like, yo, there's a secret garage for a Hummer in here. This is a crazy church, and like at 16, I didn't really understand what the prosperity gospel meant. Looking back, I'm like, I know where Without Walls church is. It's in the hood. Like, yep. I walked there from my school. Like, none of these people are anywhere near that income. And so I think for me, it was like, that's more of my issue because almost all of us know also amazing pastors in California right now who live in houses that are quadruple worth of our houses, and they're the most humblest guys ever. And they're not flexing their wealth. They just live in Orange County, California, right? And I think that's where this conversation is the tricky point, because it's the flex.
Yeah, man.
I don't think pastors should be flexing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, man, I'm actually super with you on that. I think there is that line where where you're crossing into that. But also, just to kind of kick it back to what we were saying about everybody watching online, it's one of the double-edged swords of where we live now. 30 years ago, we weren't watching the pastors in California. And one of the things I've always been taught, when you preach, exegete your audience. And some of them, they're really preaching and they're wearing something that is contextually relevant to their audience. I remember Preacher Sneakers, the first time they released a Judas Smith picture where he's wearing like this leather jacket. This thing's like $1,100, man. Like, I'm in South Carolina. That's a lot of money down here. I'm just saying. But like, when you see that, you're able to say like, wow, to me, that looks like a flex. But also, isn't that dude like Justin Bieber's pastor? It's like, how do I not know that Justin Bieber said, hey, man, I got you something? I don't know that. And then also, I've read Judas Smith's books. I've listened to him preach. I feel like I've got a snippet of his heart. He doesn't seem to be doing that. But when Kenneth Copeland's rolling out on a yacht saying, God bless you to bless me, I mean, that's a whole... So I think, the line does exist, but I think sometimes we tend to back that line up a little more than it should be. And we're like, oh, I don't like him as a preacher. And also, he's wearing some expensive shoes. So now I've got dirt on him.
It's, the guy driving the $60,000 Mercedes. How dare you? That's so irresponsible. But he spends that same $60,000 on a Suburban, and that is a responsible family car. Your family will go on road trips in comfort now, and it's the same money.
I think too, and before I go on, I just want to, I should say to start, lansdownalliance.org/give. But
you can designate that gift specifically to you, right, Jeff?
That's right. No, what I was going to say is there is an aspect of when for me personally, as another pastor watching, what's going on Instagram with preachers and sneakers and stuff. Obviously, there's the prosperity gospel angle, and if you haven't watched American Gospel, you should definitely watch it. Which is, I assume, where you started interacting with Costi Hinn.
Yes.
Same for me. I haven't read the book, but anyway. But there's an aspect of when, Jesus tells Peter, what's it to you? Like what happens with John. And I think that's a part of, it's like, I can spend all my time being mad about other pastors' shoes and what they're spending. But it's like, I'm not in their church and I'm not their elder. So, and then the line for me is it has to come back to how you love your people and how you shepherd your people. So for me, the building, the church campus is in a very low income area. You know, I mean, it's Baltimore. I mean, it's so first of all, if I had a Mercedes parked here, it would be jacked up the first couple nights. But we recently bought a newer car for our family. We had a Honda Element, and Frank will have to tell that story sometime. But it was a different one. But it was a 2004, and it had like almost 200,000 miles on it. We were about to take a trip, and it was like, should we rent a car for the trip, or maybe we should think about upgrading the car? And we ended up just getting a 2016 like Jeep, one of the small SUVs. And you know, I think for me it was just about like loving my people well, so that I didn't lose leadership and influence with them because they were distracted by something that's silly, you know, that I just don't need. So I think when you're thinking about where's the line as a pastor, I think specifically as a younger pastor with older congregants, I think you have to watch out for things that are going to cost you leadership for dumb reasons, because you're going to need that. You're going to need those leadership chips later. And like, you know, having flashy tennis shoes, like they don't care about that. So, and actually it can create a distraction. So for me, it's just about like leadership and loving my people well. Cause most of them, I don't know how you sleep at night knowing people are giving your whole salary is dependent on people giving money. So, I mean, it's a hard one. I mean, I don't think what we do isn't worth being paid, but it's a tough one.
I like what you said, Jeff. Worry about your own church. Like basically, it's like, I mean, we can worry about other pastors, and I think there's a conversation to be had there. But like, I mean, ultimately, it's like, yeah, creating the equity with your own people and not doing anything to like,
and honestly, like,
break bridges.
You need to be mature enough to use that unfollow button. Like, if you can't handle it, just unfollow it.